Hello, how are you? Today I'm going to tell you what happens to our body when we eat 2 cans of sardines per week. Sardines, poor things, are a very underrated food. A lot of people are even prejudiced against them because of their price, because they're a canned food, or because they have a stronger smell. Some people think it's a lower quality fish, but that's completely the opposite. I'm going to explain to you all the benefits of sardines, which are extremely surprising, and show you how to choose a good sardine and how to use it the right way to get all the benefits. You're going to love this video. Stick around until the end because you won't want to miss it. Sardines are a food that's being used more and more, precisely for the reasons I mentioned. Good price, very healthy, and convenient, because they're practically ready to eat as they are. When we think of sardines, we immediately think of the amount of protein they contain, right? It's a fish, and fish have a high biological value. So when we manage to consume more protein in our daily lives, we can improve the quality of our muscles, and we can even increase the production of muscle tissue in our bodies, as long as we also do, of course, regular strength training aimed specifically at building and maintaining muscle. And promoting the preservation or increase of muscle is very important, because muscle is our metabolic engine. It influences our strength, our ability to do things in daily life, our autonomy, but also our balance, metabolism, glucose control. Muscle is one of the biggest natural glucose absorbers we have, regardless of insulin. And once again, independence. I talk a lot about independence because this is very important when we think about older people, since over time, there is a tendency for us to develop sarcopenia, which is the decrease of muscle tissue in our bodies. The muscle ends up developing anabolic resistance, so it becomes harder to hypertrophy, and we have more difficulty increasing strength. So maintaining muscle mass as you age is like a savings account for your autonomy in old age. So with less muscle, we know that we can start to have silent signs, right? More fatigue, there may be an increase in abdominal circumference. Obviously, we'll have less strength, glucose can become harder to control, and there may be less energy in daily life to do everyday activities, right? So when we have less muscle in our body, we may have worse glycemic control, and this can lead to greater insulin resistance and more difficulty preserving muscle. It really is a vicious cycle. So when we think about preserving muscle, we're thinking about preserving our metabolism, having more independence, and enjoying a healthy old age. And as I mentioned, sardines are super rich in protein of high biological value, and it's a very affordable protein. You can even compare the price of canned sardines with beef or poultry, such as chicken or turkey. Sardines are often much more affordable, making them an excellent budget-friendly source. And I'm talking here about both fresh and canned sardines, okay? I know I've mentioned canned sardines a few times in this video because I think that's the most common way people eat sardines. But fresh sardines, of course, have all these benefits as well. Sardines obviously aren't just about protein. They're actually one of the most amazing foods out there because they have this high quality protein, very nutritious, with all the complete amino acids we need. But look, they also contain omega-3. Omega-3 is an anti-inflammatory fat. It's wonderful for our bodies, helping to reduce pain, inflammation, supports weight loss, improves metabolism. Fantastic. It's one of the few natural sources of vitamin D that we have in our daily diet. Vitamin D is a vitamin that's hard to get from food, but sardines have it. Vitamin B12, selenium, taurine, phosphorus, and believe it or not, a lot of calcium because we eat sardines with the bones. Usually, people who eat fresh sardines don't bother to eat the bones. However, those who eat canned sardines actually do eat them, mainly because canned sardines are prepared in a rather interesting way. They put the sardines in there, add seasonings or olive oil or regular oil inside the can, seal it, and then cook it in an autoclave under pressure. So it's cooked after the can has been sealed, which gives it a very long shelf life because it gets sterilized like a pressure cooker, so everything inside is sterilized and it lasts for many years. And secondly, it's high pressure. So when you open the can, the sardine spine is completely soft and flexible because it's very thin, so you can eat it without any worries. And in this way, it's an excellent non-dairy source of calcium for those who don't consume dairy products. Many people are concerned about the issue of mercury. Patricia, I'm afraid of canned fish, of eating too much fish every day because of the mercury. We know that mercury is a heavy metal. It's not easily eliminated. It accumulates and can increase toxins in our bodies. You really do need to be careful. But unlike tuna, for example, or other large predatory fish like shark or swordfish, sardines are tiny little fish, right? Fresh sardines are about this size, more or less, with the head, tail, everything. And since they form the very base of the marine food chain, they naturally serve as food for those predatory fish. What I mean by this is the amount of mercury it can ingest being so small is very low, and those larger fish have more mercury because they eat these smaller fish. So the tendency for mercury to be concentrated is much higher in canned tuna than in sardines. But even so, the tuna used for canning is a smaller tuna because they save the big, beautiful fish for steaks, for Japanese restaurants, seafood restaurants. So usually canned food is a product with less visual appeal, and the fish used are smaller in size. That's why even canned tuna has less mercury than a big fish that's being sold at the fish market. If you're enjoying the video, go ahead and leave your like and subscribe to the channel because there's something new here every day. As I mentioned before, sardines are rich in calcium, right? And when we think of calcium, we think of bone metabolism. They also have a lot of vitamin D, and sardines are high in phosphorus as well. So this trio is very interesting for bone and muscle function, especially for women after menopause, when the risk of osteopenia and osteoporosis increases. So if you need to preserve bone health, it's a wonderful food to include in your daily routine. Besides that, as I mentioned before, sardines can be very good for blood sugar control, improving insulin sensitivity, and increasing satiety. Think about it. It's a fish, so it's a source of protein, and it's naturally very low in carbohydrates. And it's very rich in protein and ultra-healthy fats, omega-3, which I've already mentioned to you. It's even anti-inflammatory, good for the brain, good for the heart, good for reducing inflammation in our body. So, since it has good fats and a large amount of protein, it really helps with satiety and prevents that urge to eat a lot of sweets or snack throughout the day. So one option could be to combine sardines if you want a well-balanced meal with slower digesting carbohydrates, since the sardines already provide fat and protein. So for example, sardines with a little chickpea salad is delicious. You can add bell pepper, onion, tomato, vinegar, olive oil, cilantro, or parsley. It turns out really tasty. Sardines with cooked vegetables themselves, with more or less carbohydrates depending on your approach, your own eating style. Or sardines, rice, and beans work really well as a basic daily routine for your diet. So it can be an excellent ally in the weight loss process because, as I mentioned, it provides a lot of satiety and is completely healthy and anti-inflammatory. Of course, when we think about consuming 2 cans of sardines per week, we also have to consider which type of sardine we're going to buy, right? Because when we go to the supermarket, there are several types of sardines for sale. There are sardines in oil, sardines in olive oil, sardines in tomato sauce, in pepper sauce. I've never seen sardines in water and salt, more often tuna, but maybe it exists in your city. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. So if you can, out of all these options, the best is with olive oil because it's an omega-9 fat, healthier and more nutritious. Next would be in tomato sauce or pepper sauce, always paying attention to the ingredients. It should have the minimum amount of ingredients, as few as possible. And be careful with the amount of sugar, the amount of sodium, and other preservatives. Ideally, it should be as clean as possible. And lastly, of course, sardines in vegetable oil, in omega-6 oil, which is pro-inflammatory and something we don't want. When it comes to fresh sardines, if you choose to eat them, be careful with how you prepare them because I know a lot of people have the habit of frying sardines in oil, breading and frying them, or just frying them directly in oil. Of course, we end up losing a lot of the benefits because we're adding this fat, right? Saturated fat, which becomes saturated at high temperatures. And often it's with canola oil, soybean oil, that these things are fried, or even hydrogenated vegetable fat, which I absolutely do not recommend you consume. If you're going to cook it with a little olive oil, just browning it in the pan, that's a different story. Ideally, you should also bake it, which turns out well. Some people steam it. Tell me, how do you usually eat it? So when we eat those 2 cans of sardines per week, we're getting a good amount of protein, calcium, vitamin D, B12, selenium, in short, lots of nutrients in an economical and practical way in our daily routine. I want to know if you have any sardine recipes, when you eat them, how you eat them. I'd love to see your comment. Leave a like on the video. It really helps me a lot. And share it with someone who will enjoy it or who needs it. Let's grow our chain of kindness. That's what I want here on the channel. See you next time. Bye.